page. Welcome back to my channel. So today's video is one that has taken me quite some time to film. I have been going back and forth with myself for a while on whether I even wanted to ever share this story on YouTube. But over the last few months, I've just kind of been feeling more and more called to do it. Even after I had made the decision that I wanted to share it, I still wanted to wait until I felt like I was at least 90–95% ready, mentally, of course. You know, and just be in a place that I can handle whatever comments or opinions I receive as a result of sharing something so personal. I've been on YouTube for a while now, so I know how it goes. I am sharing this video just like any other video on my channel, with hopes that it will possibly help someone who is going through the exact same thing or something similar. I'm gonna try to get through this without getting emotional in this video, but y'all know me. Your girl can be a bit of a crier. I was even getting a little emotional when I was writing the notes for this video. I'm trying to figure out exactly how I wanted to communicate everything, but I think I got this. I got this. A lot of you may know, and some of you may not know, that I went through a big weight loss journey at the end of 2016 and early 2017. I've never been like naturally thin, but it was after I graduated from college that I noticed I was putting on more and more weight. I was telling myself that maybe my metabolism was slowing down. I didn't know what was going on, but I was starting to get very uncomfortable. And not even just appearance wise, but I felt unhealthy, I felt sluggish. I decided that I was gonna do something about it. And after a few failed attempts, I had even hired a personal trainer. I have finally set my mind to doing this. I have finally decided that I was gonna put real effort towards dropping some pounds. I remember losing my first 10 pounds. It was the first time that I had intentionally and successfully lost weight, and it really lit a fire under me. I set a weight loss goal for myself, and y'all, I was determined to reach it. Before I knew it, I was going to the gym like 6 days a week, sometimes for 3 hours each day. I watched a bunch of food documentaries and YouTube videos, and I made sure my diet was close to perfect. And it was working. The weight just started falling off, and I ended up losing a little over 40 pounds. So I hit that weight loss goal I had set for myself, and my friends had even convinced me to start sharing my journey and sharing my weight loss experience on YouTube. And it's through those videos that I know many of you actually found this channel. At the time, I really thought that I was doing it the right way. I wasn't only eating like 1,200 calories. I wasn't aiming to be skinny. I wanted to be fit. I wanted to be lean. I wanted to be strong. I learned a lot about weightlifting and building muscle. I was always in a pretty consistent caloric deficit to lose weight, but I never felt like I was starving myself or anything like that. However, now in hindsight, and even after watching some of my old videos recently, I understand that my lifestyle and my journey always lacked one thing, and that was balance. I had a very much like all or nothing mentality. In my mind, I had to be extremely strict and dedicated, or else I would fail. I would gain all the way back, and all of the hard work that I put in would have just been for nothing. I rarely allowed myself a break. I really didn't have much of a social life during my strictest weight loss phases. I turned down plans with friends pretty often, and I had just convinced myself that I was practicing delayed gratification and that my future self would thank me for not eating that donut or saying no to going out with my friends that night. And one of the reasons why I was so strict was because whenever I did allow myself a treat or a cheat meal, I almost always went overboard. And that was simply because I hadn't allowed myself to have it in so long. And afterwards, y'all, like, it was bad. Like, I would just sob. I would boohoo cry and tell myself that I was gonna have to make up for it the next day or for the rest of the week, and you know, go harder in the gym, be even more strict with my diet, make sure I'm eating even cleaner. On our family vacation in 2017, I will never forget this, I was really trying to hit a weight loss goal for my upcoming vacation to Aruba with my friends. We were going like a couple weeks, and And for the entire trip, I ate at separate restaurants from my family. They would go wherever they wanted to for dinner, and I only went to salad bars for the entire trip. Because when I was in the weight loss phase, there was no junk food allowed. There were no sweets. There was no alcohol. If you've ever gone through a weight loss phase, you may have also done something called counting your macros. And I was very particular about my macros. I had to make sure that I hit them or was very, very close to hitting them each day. I weighed and I tracked every single piece of food that went into my mouth. I used an app called MyFitnessPal, and I had to make sure that I didn't miss a day logging my food. I could not go over my calories for the day or eat too many carbs. For years, y'all, I did not allow myself to eat bananas, which is a fruit. It's a fruit. Like when I look back on it now, y'all, I did not allow myself to eat bananas because they had too many carbs in them. And though I lost the weight, though I hit my goal, I now see that this lifestyle was never going to be sustainable. At the time, I loved the sense of control I felt during my weight loss journey. And of course, all of the compliments I would receive, people asking me for tips and advice on how they could lose weight too. But it just never felt like enough. When I was at my lowest weight, when I had been the strictest I had ever been, this was for my Aruba trip, I still remember thinking that my stomach was not small enough. My stomach was not flat enough. But when I got into a relationship at the end of 2017, which went all throughout 2018 as well, I did allow myself to be a little bit more relaxed. Just because I didn't want to be that girlfriend that was no fun, that never wanted to go out to restaurants or anything like that. So I was trying to be more relaxed, but of course not too relaxed. I would still try to do like 4 to 6 week weight loss cuts every now and then, and I would just tell him like, okay, like for these next few weeks, I can't go out. But after that, we can start having fun again. We can go out to eat, you know, whatever. And that helped me to make sure that my weight never got higher than I wanted it to be. Finally, when I moved to London in January of 2019, though I was dedicated to the fit life, I had decided, y'all, that I really did want to have a social life here. I wanted to have fun. I wanted to make new friends. And you all know how going out to restaurants and drinking are like the biggest social activities. However, I tried not to ever go too crazy, and I would limit like how many times a week I would allow myself to go out to eat with friends or go out drinking. So I would say yes to like going out to eat and stuff sometimes, but I really try not to ever go overboard with it. And I was very careful about how many times I would say yes. Oh, and during my weight loss journey, people asking me to go out to eat for their birthdays or for different events, oh my gosh, it would stress me out so much because I felt like it was always somebody's birthday, and I was trying so hard to avoid going out to restaurants. And I just did not know how I would explain to my friends that I was missing their birthday because I was trying to be in this forever like weight loss phase. Oh man. So during the times that I was being like really relaxed here in London, I would gain a little bit of weight, and I did not like it. So I would have my final treat day, and then I would go back to tracking my food, having the perfect diet, working out. I felt like it was the only way that I knew how to keep my weight down. So I was fine with continuing the cycle until I ran into quite the unforeseen challenge. Okay, y'all, so this is probably gonna be the more difficult part to film, but we can do this, we can do this. In hindsight, I did have some issues with binge eating even earlier in my weight loss journey. Binge eating involves eating large quantities of food very quickly, sometimes when you're not even hungry, and to the point that you feel uncomfortable. It is typically seen as part of an eating disorder. And just to confirm, I have not been diagnosed by any medical professional as having a disorder, but I've also never gone to the doctor about this. However, from the research that I have done on my own, online, I am 100% sure that the act of binging is what I was doing. Because whenever I did allow myself to have something that I normally didn't, it was almost like this little voice was in my head saying, eat it all, Paige, eat it all. We don't know when we're gonna be allowed to have this again, so just eat as much as you can of it. So one little treat would often turn into a big old cheat day. I would feel like crap, I would probably cry, and then try to just go back to being perfect the next day. Back then, like earlier in my weight loss journey in 2017 and 2018, It didn't happen as often, and that was because I did not allow any of those foods, you know, that would be triggering for me, even in my space. They were not allowed in the house. Like, I lived with my parents at the time, so I know I drove them crazy, but I would yell at them if they brought certain like chips or cookies or anything in the house, because it was like challenging for me to avoid it. Yeah, when I'm looking back on it, I'm like, wow, it was probably a lot to deal with during that time. I used to just tell people that I had amazing willpower, that I was the queen of self-control, but the truth was that I just did not trust myself to practice moderation. Because if I did allow myself to have a little bit of something, it just always went overboard. My brother had already moved to Mississippi, and whenever he would come and visit us in Chicago, he would buy a big old jar of peanut butter. I'm not even sure what he was using for peanut butter jelly sandwiches, I don't know, but peanut butter was one of those things that was like so triggering for me. Like, I could not avoid the peanut butter, and I don't even think before my weight loss journey I even liked peanut butter all that much, but it was something that I knew that I couldn't have. And when I would just see it sitting on the counter, it was just like calling my name. And I remember calling my best friend Amber one day, just hysterical, crying my eyes out, and she thought that something happened to me. But I called her because I had eaten almost the entire jar of peanut butter that he left on the counter, and I couldn't explain why it happened. I would say that I was first able to actually recognize that I had a problem with binge eating back in 2020. Obviously, the pandemic was in full force. Here I was living in a new country. I was trying my hand at entrepreneurship. Suddenly, everything just kind of felt out of my control again, and I was very, very overwhelmed and stressed. My binging had now started to become emotionally triggered, which was a lot more difficult to control than when it was just because I was being restrictive. It got to the point where I was actually like blacking out while I was doing it. And I would come to, and I would just have like all of these protein bar wrappers around me, and individual popcorn bags, and pistachio nut shells, like all of that healthy snacks that I would allow in the flat. But then before I knew it, I actually started having planned binges, and I would go to the grocery store and pick up all of the treats that I would normally not allow myself to have. I would get like 2 or 3, sometimes 4 different treats, and I would bring them all home and go into my room and close the door and basically swallow it all whole. I would try to like counter it with dieting so that I would never gain too much weight. However, the binging just started to get worse, especially in May 2021, when I was having a very difficult time with finding a new flat. It was a very, very stressful period, and I didn't like how I felt after these binges. Like, I felt embarrassed. I felt like I had failed. When it was happening, I was living with my old flatmate, and I remember trying to be like very quiet whenever I would get up and go to the cabinet and get more to eat. I didn't want her to know. I didn't want her to know. So I finally decided to share with my mom and my best friend what I was going through. And they were really, really worried about me. They were worried. But I started doing my own research and Googling what was happening. And I realized that this was something that a lot of people dealt with, especially after going through a weight loss journey, especially a very restrictive weight loss journey like I was on. Ooh, we said we weren't gonna cry. We said we weren't gonna cry. All right. We're good, we're good, we're good. I knew that I couldn't live like this, and I wanted it to stop. I wanted it to stop. So just like with my first weight loss journey, I began doing my research. After watching a lot of videos about overcoming binge eating, I actually started getting recommendations for videos about intuitive eating and food freedom. I watched video after video, and I decided that I no longer wanted to allow food to have this type of control over my life or my mental health any longer. So I decided at the beginning of the summer that I had to let go of all the food rules I had ever set for myself. I needed to stop tracking my food. I needed to stop being afraid of certain foods. and I need to just allow myself to eat. So that's exactly what I did, y'all. I pretty much ate whatever I wanted. They weren't all the most balanced or nutritious choices. Well, yeah, most of them weren't. During the summer, I also did this 5-week stress management counseling program through the NHS. I noticed that as the summer went on, the binging had subsided for the most part because I was no longer being super restrictive and I was learning how to manage my stress a lot better. As a result of me allowing myself to pretty much eat whatever I wanted, I gained some weight and I couldn't fit pretty much any of my summer clothes this past summer. I really expected myself to be a lot more upset about it than I actually was. And I think it's because I just finally felt so free that it did not matter. I can't believe I'm saying this. But I am currently 20 pounds heavier than I was when I first moved to London in January 2019. And though the idea of that just a few years ago probably would have taken your girl out, my main priority has just been healing my mind. Like I said, I threw out all those food rules and pretty much everything I knew about nutrition, like even the good stuff, went out the window right along with it. So though I had the major benefit of making these fear foods, you know, less scary, there were also downsides to it. Eating all of these foods just made me feel a lot more sluggish and tired all the time. I was never motivated to go to the gym or work out anymore. Sometimes it would affect my mood, honestly. And though it had those downsides, I still think I had to go through this phase of the food freedom journey. So I watched this YouTube video from an intuitive eating dietitian, and I felt so much relief because she explained that this was actually fairly normal for someone who was recently introduced to practicing intuitive eating. And of course, it's because you're finally letting go of all these food rules and telling your brain that you're allowed to have these things. So over the last few months, I have really been having to learn the difference between entitled eating and practical eating. When I first started this, I was definitely practicing entitled eating. Just because I have given myself permission to have these things doesn't mean that I need it at the time or that I even really want it. Your body still needs certain nutrients to perform at its best. And I actually just really enjoy fruits and veggies and whole foods, and I like eating those things. I will absolutely not be beginning another weight loss journey. Rather, I have begun what I guess you could call a food freedom or intuitive eating journey. Of course, I am hoping to get to a healthy weight, whatever that looks like for me and my body. I do plan to start giving my body a lot more of what it needs to function at its best, which includes healthy nutrients and more exercise. I know that this journey is not going to be an easy one, and it's gonna come along with a lot of learning as well as unlearning. For example, for years, all I've really ever allowed myself to cook and eat at home was my basic meal prep food, which was a protein, which is like ground turkey or chicken, veggies of course, and then a carb like brown rice, sweet potato, simply because it was the easiest type of meals to track on MyFitnessPal. I want to start enjoying whole and nutritious meals by actually attempting to make recipes at home and learning to enjoy cooking. It can be so scary to be vulnerable, and I say that all the time when I get on here and I share something personal with y'all, but I really do want to share this new journey with you all. From grocery hauls to trying new recipes, and even just sharing like how I'm thinking and feeling throughout this process. I feel like I'm always asking y'all to join me on a journey, but I do hope that you will join me on this journey of finding balance. I did it. I did it. That's my story. That's my truth. I know that there's a lot of people who have probably experienced this themselves or are in different phases of the same journey. I'm definitely gonna be figuring this all out as I go, but I am optimistic and hopeful. Please be kind in the comments. And as always, thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to give me a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye.